See how fast that response goes?
On my first trip.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Sedro-Woolley City Council. Please rise for our flag salute. Hopefully we don't have
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you got enough money. I always forget to say that. Okay. Council notes the drill. If there's something you'd like to discuss further on the consent calendar, let me know. We'll take it off. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent calendar from A through D.
Second. Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Galbraith and a second by Councilmember Lemley to approve the consent calendar A through D.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Okay, passes. Public comment. This is something that's not on the agenda. If you want to speak about it, limit your time to 3 to 5 minutes. State your name and address for the record. If not, don't come all rushing. We'll go to unfinished business. Item 5, a resolution withdrawing from Skagit Island Regional Transportation Planning Organization. This is a second reading. Aaron.
I don't have much detail to offer beyond what we discussed at the last work session. Kevin Murphy is here, the Executive Director for the Skagit Council of Governments, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. The basic summary is that from our perspective in the Sedro-Woolley staff position at least, is that the Skagit Island Regional Transportation Planning Organization is no longer a useful partnership. We can accomplish more as a Skagit organization than a Skagit Island organization, and our friends over in Island County seem to think that they have a legitimate role in ranking our projects, and we just don't believe that that's the case. So this resolution would give the mayor the ability to withdraw us from the SIR-TPO. City of Burlington's considering a similar resolution tomorrow night. I understand the town of Hamilton's already withdrawn. So if you say yes and Burlington says yes, then it would need 2 additional towns or 1 city, and the organization would fail. And at that point, it would be really just reconstituted under our existing transportation, what do we call that? Transportation Policy Board, TPB. And we'd be a single county RTPO and MPO. So if you have any questions for me or for Kevin, fire away.
And we discussed it at the workshop
last week.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 916, TAC 15, resolution of the City of Sedro-Woolley, Washington, withdrawing from the Skagit Island Regional Transportation Planning Organization.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Wagoner and a second by Councilmember Galbraith to approve resolution number 916, TAC 15, a resolution of the City of Sedro-Woolley, Washington, withdrawing from the Skagit Island Regional Transportation Planning Organization. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to double check. The main problem with this is, let's say, people or agencies from outside our area getting to more or less veto projects around here. Is that the general idea?
There are 2 issues. One is that, we in Sedro-Woolley experienced that when the Skagit Sub-Regional Board voted to allow us to swap projects. So we moved one project that was in the money down and put our Cascade Trail in, so it was in the money. And the Island Subgroup staff recommendation before it went to the Policy Board was to not agree to that, to switch back to the original, basically the employee ranking, the Technical Advisory Committee. And we ended up withdrawing the project that morning, so we didn't test it by vote, but it was the Island Subboard's position that resulted in us withdrawing the project. And when we talked to him about it, a couple of those people have been on the board for many years, and I know one of the mayors told me, well, we used to do this all the time. We're being told we can't, and I think they got misinformation. But the problem in my mind is that they thought it was appropriate to tell Skagit how to spend Skagit's money, and so yeah, that's an issue. And then the other issue is, and Kevin I think could speak to this in more detail. His office staffs the island policy function, and they're doing a lot of work to try to kind of mix the MPO, the RTPO, the Skagit issues, the island issues, and at the end of the day, we share one bridge in common. I mean, really, that's it, right? One bridge. We share one bridge. So, we're not like a county that's got all sorts of roads and bridges and buses. There's one bridge with a bus. And so it's not that complicated for interconnected regional planning. There's really not that much to do. So, at least from my view, we're better off pulling in our horns and focusing in on Skagit issues rather than watering down our organization and also doing Island County issues.
Were they voting against this project? Were they in line to get money?
No.
No?
That was what was ironic about it, is it didn't affect them because the allocations were kind of split. In this case, they got mixed. It was the Transportation Alternatives Program. But normally they're split ahead of time, so they get their amount, we get our amount, and we divvy it up independently. In this particular ranking system, the money ended up going to Skagit County to buy some right-of-way, I think, for the Centennial Trail somewhere.
And I was honest, I think we had a discussion with them, and I don't know anything about Coopville or Langley or Oak Harbor, and it doesn't make sense that I have to vote on something like that. And the only time I go east and west when I go there is to take the ferry over to Port Angeles, But I have more in common with Ferndale, Marysville, the I-5 corridor, than I do, or Bellingham, than I do with, Oak Harbor. I'm sorry.
Well, wasn't the original idea to get enough population to get federal money?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so
now where are we at when we cut that arm off? Where are we at?
We're still fine.
We now meet that threshold independent of Island County. So times have changed.
So
It's like a million, right? Is it
100,000. 100,000? 100,000.
100,000. And so what does that do with Whatcom County? I wasn't at the work session, so it doesn't have
It's
any...
unrelated to Whatcom County.
okay.
We don't have
Awesome.
a similar organization with them. They're a single county SCOG, aren't they? Or a single county RTPO, MPO.
yeah, they got about 160,000 up there.
So we'd be like Whatcom County.
Okay.
And Island County would probably, glom on to Skagit or Puget Sound Regional Council or do something independent with WashDOT, I guess.
Right, correct. This has happened in one other location in the state, and what WashDOT has done is an independent agreement with the county that was removed from the RTPO to continue planning functions for a couple of years under a direct relationship between WashDOT and the county. So that's the transition that would likely occur. As Aaron pointed out, they do not have enough population on their own to be an RTPO, so they would have to join with the adjoining county, which could be the Peninsula RTPO or the Puget Sound Regional Council.
Can they join Whatcom?
No, they're not connected.
They're not connected.
Yeah, they're connected through
We're not
Skagit.
touching.
So they can do Jefferson County, or they can do Snohomish County, or I guess
That's it.
that's it. They don't have a ferry to King County.
We're touching by the bridge.
Okay.
I thought they did.
Ferries.
Well, our concern should be us and not necessarily them. So
It saves us money, too, right, in the long run?
No, I don't. I'm not sure I'd say that.
Just not useful anymore.
What it does is focuses our staff time on our issues. I don't know if you have a comment on saving money.
The money issue is we will lose, the regional transportation planning funds are divided up strictly based on population. So we will lose some of that money, but we currently just pass all that money straight to Island County. So it's administratively, we lose a little bit of money, less than $10,000 to my budget. But as Aaron points out, we don't do the work anymore either. So it's Administratively, in my opinion, it's a wash. It's not we don't gain a lot of money, we don't lose a lot of money. When the Council of Governments made the decision a year and a half ago to change the boundaries of the Metropolitan Planning Organization to be countywide and to do the governance agreement last year that made sure that we are a single county RTPO if this takes place, we increased our federal funding by $45,000 based on that action. So we gained money well and above what we'll lose.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we will go to...
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome.
It'll go to recycling, yard waste contract expiration, and this is a second reading. And you, Leo, where?
Not going to invite him to the
So we brought this back to you after our conversation at the work session last week. We have some additional information put together for you on page 1 of the memo, page 56 of the packet, kind of a time frame for moving forward. You can see not later than is the NLT, and really there's a whole bunch of steps that would have to take place if we choose to go down this path. So the first step is really your decision point if we're going to proceed or not. That's a decision point that we need, if not tonight, then certainly by the next meeting in order to have enough time to order the equipment and move forward. We've already solicited information on the bulk commodity contract. We've got prices from 2 providers. A third provider's indicated lack of interest in participating. And my intention for that would be to hopefully actually more formally ask for pricing in a not a formal competitive bid process, but a fair competitive process. So we'd take the 2 people who are interested and establish criteria and get pricing from them. There's one possible wrinkle, which is if we choose to work with Skagit County and use the transfer station, it may be that the county's contract would limit our competitive universe to one provider, the one that they already contract with. That happens to be the provider that's given us the lowest price, but that would be unfortunate from my perspective. I'd like to get prices from both providers who are doing the work in Skagit County today. So that's something we would proceed with post haste. Yard waste disposal is the same thing, although we already have a working relationship with an existing provider, and I think our intention would be to expand that relationship to accommodate the additional tonnage. We would intend to bring to you in early June a budget amendment to address the new program. Obviously, for us to run this program is fairly expensive. There's in the 2015 budget, as we're currently contemplating it, there's a couple $100,000 in capital that would be required. There's new staffing and new operational costs as well as new revenue. All those things would be accommodated in a budget amendment. The $300,000 purchase of the vehicle would be accommodated out of our ER&R fund and wouldn't hit the budget until 2016. We would intend to do a communication campaign to make our transition smooth with information out to residents next month and the following month and possibly even in September. One of the decision points for the council if we proceed is whether we would like to continue to have commingled glass in our recycling stream. And I'll probably ask Leo to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. It appears to us that the trend is now to stop taking commingled glass and either put it in your garbage or in essentially more regional glass collection areas. So in our case, we would certainly have glass collection down at the recycling yard. We may also have a bin, up here at City Hall or at Memorial Park or wherever. So if you want to separate it, you can throw it away. The research is appearing to show that glass is making up less and less of the total recyclable or solid waste stream, and it jams up the system, basically. It contaminates the high-value commodities. So Pierce County, for example, just went to a no-glass policy, and our friends at the Department of Ecology seem to be pushing this as time goes forward as a way to increase the actual effect of recycling. So that's a question we'd have to deal with. If we chose to do that, it would make sense to do it, I think, when we implement the program, and that may result in kind of one more informational piece just to help people understand that that's a different feature. Toters, we'd have to get those ordered here in the middle of next month. They have already been publicly bid, so it's just an order process. It's 4 weeks lead time. I'm saying the middle of next month, which gives us really 8 weeks, because you never know, and without toters we'd be in a real trouble on September 1st. In the back of the room are some toter examples, which normally we wouldn't bring toter colors to the City Council, but for some reason toter colors there seems to be a lot of interest in those, so we brought them to talk to you about what you might like to see out in the street.
Well, it's good to see more toters than people.
You could get rid of half the toters, you still have more toters.
The truck purchase is a 180-day lead time, so we'd shoot to begin that next month for delivery in January, and we'd hire our new staff member at the beginning of August. We'd require a CDL, so they'd be immediately effective. Give them basically 2 weeks to learn the ropes, and then 2 weeks to be delivering toters, and on September 1st they would go live running the routes. And we'll bring to you in early August commercial recycling rates. That's something that we have contractually agreed not to do for the last, 15 years or so. Obviously we would want to compete in the commercial recycling market. Leo's told the council at the last meeting that he thought he would be able to generate somewhere in the $5,000 to $10,000 a month range in revenue from commercial recycling. None of that revenue is factored into any of the worksheets in this memo. That is still an open competitive marketplace, so it's something that we would just look at and see what happens. And then, of course, we'd have to deliver the toters. We'd be looking at, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,500 or better toters. We currently have about 900 green waste customers. That's through Waste Management. So all those customers, we would imagine, would continue on, as well as I suspect we would pick up some new customers as part of our information campaign, letting people know about the change in service. So, that'd be about 1,000 toters or better, and then about 3,500 households are in our utility system. So each one would be touched with a toter. And then the first week of pickup would happen September 1st. So that's basically the calendar. I gave to you a memo from Leo that details a little bit more on the economics of the proposal as well as the operation. You'll note that the numbers in here for revenue are based upon actual current revenue, so we can be very confident in the revenue numbers. The operational costs are based upon our experience operating garbage trucks, and we don't see that there's going to be a significant difference in operational costs, so we've got a high degree of confidence in our operational costs as well. Not everybody knows this, but the city actually currently runs curbside recycling up at the Tribe, and has done so now for how many years?
2005.
Yeah, so we're 10 years into that. It's obviously a much smaller marketplace than the city, but it's not a foreign concept for the city to do that. So the big outstanding questions really from my perspective are back to those the options that were presented last week. Council by consensus seemed to be pretty interested in moving forward with internalizing this program. We want to know if you still want to do that or if you need more information. And then on the costs, I think I put on the whiteboard for you a comparison of essentially the status quo, the proposal to internalize, and the proposal if we accepted Waste Management's contract amendment. And that one required a rate increase. We're comfortable telling you that we would not need a rate increase at implementation for this program. Obviously, we can't promise there will never be a rate increase, but we know that there would be a rate increase at implementation of the new contract with Waste. And our numbers seem to suggest to us that we would at least break even without accounting for commercial customers, but in fact should generate some additional revenue to the solid waste system utility by internalizing the program, and we most certainly would generate additional staff time because our FTE would only be allocated 4 out of 5 days. So that actually would be a benefit to the utility given our current level of staffing. So that's basically where we're at, and looking for direction from the city council. I think this is a very significant decision because of the very large upfront costs, and it's something that if we choose to go down this path, I think we're going to be going down it for a while before we could potentially change course.
Where's the city's position on this?
Well, I think the recommendation from the staff, from Leo and Mark and Patsy and I, is to proceed with internalizing it. I didn't talk tonight about the customer service, but in our view, even if the scenario was break even, we think we win under that scenario because our customers will get our customer service. We'll own those calls and those complaints, and we'll be able to fix them. And under our current model, we can't, and they just don't have a plan to solve that at Waste Management.
And there was some question. I thought you said at the workshop that there was some minor internal things, or is that, did I misunderstand? Some paperwork, billing, structural things, or is that all taken care of?
I don't think we'd have really an issue there because we already bill for residential curbside recycling, so no change on the bill.
All the internal stuff's
we would need to accept subscribers and bill for yard waste, and we need to adopt a fee schedule for commercial recycling, and then we would add that to bills. But really, I don't anticipate. In fact, I think we could safely say it would be less work for Serena to do this additional work and not have the complaints than it would be to maintain the status quo.
And what happens if we do this for a year and find out that it's just too many people not getting it right and things kind of go south and we decide to bail on it? Just renegotiate with Waste Management to come back and start over?
Yeah, so that's a scenario that I have a hard time imagining actually happening given our history of operating a utility and the work that these guys do and their perspective out in the field.
I'm not talking about these. I'm more concerned with the public and not getting the pickup
what
rights.
I'm saying is we get very few complaints from the service we deliver today. So I don't think that's a very likely scenario. But if it is, in my mind, the worst case scenario is the city council says, hey, you're not cutting the mustard. You lay off the FTE when we have provisions to do that. And then I would go out to an RFP to provide the service again. There are at least 2 providers who can do it. And in the RFP, we would require that they take over our truck and our toters. And they could amortize that. It would be at least a 7 to 10 year contract, and your rates would go up. And they probably would go up more than they would go up if we negotiated today with waste. I mean, I could be wrong. They might go up less, because it'd be a competitive marketplace. But I would expect that you would pay more later than you would today.
But I've been out with the garbage guys, and that would be the least of my worries is them doing the job, because they do a darn good job.
They'll nail the job.
But my concern is money. You mentioned that the truck's $300,000 and I can't remember the words you used, buy it this year and put it in next year's budget? Explain that.
We would order it this year, and we would buy it when it's delivered. So it's no different than any other vehicle purchase. It's just the soonest we could get it would be in January 2016. If we could get it next month, if they had a demo truck that fit our specs, I'd say buy it this year and give you a budget amendment to make it happen. But
I thought you said it would be put in next year's budget.
Yeah, because that's when it would be delivered.
That's when it would be paid for.
So it's in the budget year, the year we spend the money.
Okay. So the money's not coming out this year?
Correct.
So, because that was one of the concerns is here we go through this whole budget, then all the clear blue sky, you're going to pull $500,000 out that we didn't budget. But you're saying it's going to be in next year's budget.
Well, $200,000 would be out of the stormwater reserve, the solid waste reserve fund. I wish the stormwater fund had that kind of depth. And so that's where the money comes from. It's essentially our short-term savings. And then from our equipment repair and replacement fund, the ER&R fund is how we would buy the truck.
You need to buy the toters.
Yeah, the toters would come out of the solid waste system.
And that would be the dilemma on your question.
Reserve fund.
Once we buy the toters, we commit
you own them.
Like I said, the least of the worries is the employees. They do good. The big worry is it all going to pencil out in reality? Because that's a big chunk.
Yeah, although, with the numbers that you've got,
Which week is
we know what the system revenues are, so that's not like launching a new business where you're doing a pro forma and making assumptions. I mean, this is, after all, a captive utility marketplace. With the exception of the green waste and commercial recycling. In commercial recycling, we didn't factor in anything for. The curbside recycling number, it's the law. I mean, it is what it is. We can tell you right now what you're going to collect next year. And then the costs are really based upon our current operating experience. And I just don't know, Leo, if you've got any concerns that we're missing a cost. I mean, the only bogey out there is on the bulk commodity disposal because we don't have a currently negotiated contract. And we just have 2 quotes from 2 different vendors. And we've reflected the more expensive of the 2 quotes in this proposal.
I just like the idea of better customer service. I've experienced bad service. And if we can just stay even, stay everything the same, and just get better service where you can call a local phone number and order a yard pickup or something and get it probably the same day, the way our guys operate, that's worth doing.
What's the number of complaints that we've been getting so far over the last few months?
With waste management?
Yeah.
Well, we have a stack. I don't know that we put a number.
Well, the number Patsy was talking last time was 50 or 55.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that's just the ones that they call. What about the ones that just get frustrated sitting on hold? You're calling Houston.
The peak worst week. How many complaints do we get about our garbage service?
Houston.
Oh,
75, 80?
No, I would say 2 or 3 a month. It's not very much. People do call and say, I forgot to put my can out, could someone come back and get it? But that's not a complaint.
Well, they always call about that dirty white truck driving around.
Be more careful.
I've called about that too, and I don't have the juice to get it cleaned up. I've tried.
With all the ooze.
That's it.
The garbage ooze on the front.
well, another place.
That's what he said last year.
Yeah.
The year before.
That's funny.
Well, he's trying to get the offenders to clean it.
No comment.
Well, in my opinion, I think we should move forward, so I'm going to make a motion.
To
Mr. Mayor?
give direction.
What?
Provide direction.
Just
right.
to give them direction to pursue the...
I'm going to give you direction, yes.
Yeah.
Direction for the city to provide with providing residential and commercial recycling and yard waste after the end of our contract with Waste Management, which is August 31st, 2015.
Okay. Anybody else want to do that?
Second?
Okay.
Works for me.
Sandstrom, even though it's not a motion,
No.
but it works.
Well,
Okay.
the motion's helpful from my
Yeah.
perspective if
Yeah.
it's a motion to provide that direction.
So I did make a motion.
Yeah. So we got a motion by Councilmember Galbraith, second by Councilmember Sandstrom to provide direction to the city to provide residential and commercial recycling and yard waste after the end of the contract with Waste Management, which is August 31st of this year. Any further discussion? Everybody else like that?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye. Okay.
Aye.
All right, looks like everybody wants it.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? I didn't know we had it. It's just that we're giving direction, all right?
That was a motion, so.
Okay,
Motion, and you're the post.
all right. No opposed?
No.
Hear none, so pass unanimous.
Nope.
All right.
I'm in.
That's
Well, there's the last question I have on this, and like I said, I would normally bring toters in for the city council to look at, but I know it's been an issue.
They're clean.
The one on the left there is what we've kind of picked as our current trash toter. So it's Sedro-Woolley blue on the bottom, black on the top, marked trash only. The next one over, the blue on blue, is our old trash can design, and there are going to be a lot of those in the system for years yet to come. We were thinking that might be a good recycling toter, so blue on blue with the blue lid stamped recycling, and having the label that tells you what goes in. And then the next one over, the brighter green with a green can instead of a blue can, would be the yard waste can. But it's up to you. You know, the cans and the lids can be mixed and matched however you like it.
I just have a question. If you're going to be doing some collection when it's kind of dark outside, would it be helpful to have like a really light colored one?
Well, I can tell you, one day when I went out on the truck with these guys, the city can and the waste management can looked the same. And I think I dumped about a dozen recycling bins, and the guy in the
You're not going to be
truck
picking them up at the same time, are you? Because it'll be two different trucks.
Well, yeah, but they're out the same day. So I was on the trash truck. I was dumping the trash that day, and I kept hitting the wrong cans. So, but I don't think they have that problem. That was unique to the new operator, me.
Yeah, once we train the operator, and then we have lights on the truck that can see very well with the at night, so we'll be able to tell which toter is which.
I see.
And they're not all one size. They're size per. Okay.
So the recycling and yard waste will be that size. That would be our largest residential garbage size, but we'd still have some of the smaller cans available.
I think Leo should just come up with a coated lid system that works for him, or for the department.
That works for me. I just wanted to make sure nobody had any strong feelings before we go and spend $200,000 on trash cans and find out that somebody on the council thought it should be a different color.
No, I have two big recycle toters. You'll still get two big recycle toters, or are you guys going to charge me more for another one?
Well, after January 1st, you're going to have a special fee.
Yeah, I know how that works.
Be on the slow route. No, we'll continue to provide.
Well, after the end of this week, I'll be like a lame duck. So I know how that.
You're already a lame.
What are you talking about?
We'll continue to provide that service for the higher recycling capacity households.
The ones that recycle a lot, you mean?
Yeah. That's why I said higher capacity recycling households.
Okay. That's me. Yeah.
All right. Well, then, we'll be bringing back to you, this will be an agenda item on your council agenda for the next couple of months with various decision points and budget amendments, but we'll be proceeding forward. We may accelerate the budget amendment to the next meeting just so we have authority to start spending the money, but we'll get on track and start working on this thing.
Okay, we'll go to new business, sign permit fees, and this is the first reading. And this, I assume, would be John.
Yeah. So, sign permit fees for commercial sign inserts for existing sign cabinets and facade signs. The price for that is currently at $100 for a sign for a permit. Plus $25 for design review. So it's $125 for a simple facade sign. That was pointed out that was a little high. So I brought a revised, what is called the Sedro-Woolley Building Planning Engineering Fee Schedule in front of the council tonight with a reduced fee from $100 to $25 for those types of signs. And this is a first read, no action requested. First
Any
reading.
questions or discussion? Okay, thanks. Good, they can read it. Probably could put it on the consent calendar. If someone wants to take it up next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, we will be going to committee reports. Start with Chief Tucker.
Just a couple of things here. You stop by our office, you'll notice our front office staff is all wearing uniforms now. Record supervisor has kind of got them set up to wear kind of all similar uniforms. Looking pretty sharp there. Stop by and take a look. Ariel looks good in a brand new uniform out there. And Joanna, our new receptionist, is fitting in real well and got her in uniform too. We went down and visited our 3 recruits in the academy last week. Took them out to dinner, found out how they're doing, took a tour of their dorms, doing real well. They're let's see, the first two are in their first month, and then Katie's about 3 weeks behind them. They'll be getting out the first two in mid-July, and Katie will be getting out soon after that in early August. We've been having an ongoing noise problem on North Township Street. I don't know if any of your constituents have been complaining about it. We've been going to those gray duplex apartments right across from Cascade Middle School, and this is the first time that we've had to deal with this, but we actually got to the $950 fine level for noise ordinance violation. Noise ordinance violation, you take the first you give them several warnings, and when they fail to comply, they get a ticket. I think it's for $190, I think the first one. The second one's $475, and then that same night they refused to turn the music down. They got the $950, and the next one's a criminal ticket. What's that?
They all add up?
Yes, and they all have to go to the judge and explain how they got 3 tickets. So he got one like a week or two before. Then he got the second one this weekend, and then got the third one that about an hour later, and the next one will be criminal. He'll probably be arrested. He's a 19-year-old. I think his parents booted him out and bought him a place to stay, so he wasn't at their house anymore. So we're going to win this one. It just may be uncomfortable for some of the neighbors for a while, and he'll have to explain himself to the judge. We're working on some logger rodeo planning. Nathan and David Davidson and I have been meeting with Logger Rodeo folks and working on security. The Logger Rodeo is getting bigger and bigger. We're having more problems with bigger crowds in the downtown area, and then the concern has always been the kids jumping out in the parade route. We're going to work on some measures to maybe rope off some of the congestion points, and then we're going to borrow a baseball field chalk line thing, and we're going to put kind of a little line, do not cross, out there, and hopefully that'll be kind of an incentive to keep the kids on one side because they just keep creeping out. We're also, I haven't finalized talks with the Skagit Search and Rescue. We're going to hopefully get a couple of Search and Rescue kids on their ATVs riding along the parade route, kind of helping us keep track of the kids. And we're really bumping our game up. We've got increased numbers of crime watchers that are going to be helping out, and we're having to provide more and more security and direction for Logger Rodeo. It's getting just bigger and bigger every year. And that's it.
I just want, while you're talking, I just want to acknowledge that this week's the National Police Memorial Week.
Oh, that's right. We actually have Rhonda's back there now.
Yeah, and I appreciate all your guys' work and
thank you.
Everything you do. It's Friday's the day.
Yep.
Right. Flags go half-staff Friday until 5:30, then they go back up because it's Patriots Day afterwards. So
good. Chief Klinger.
We're testing again in July, Mayor. Hopefully, if anybody knows of anybody that's wants to volunteer, we're doing what we can to try and find some. Our numbers are dwindling rapidly. We're down to, what was your number, Aaron? 15. 12.
Is there like an age?
18.
Too old?
He's going to be looking for a job.
Yeah, you're going to be looking for some work, I guess.
Like you sit in that lazy boy and watch TV?
Yeah, no, as long as I can, we don't. Yeah, no.
My son did.
You're going to tell your wife you're at the fire hall.
Yeah. No, I can't take the garbage out.
My swinging all the time. Oh, gotta go.
Yeah, I'll push that again here real quick. No, that's all. We're just looking for some volunteers. We are going to be sending out some flyers in the utility bills on in June, I believe. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
really
cool
nice
too.
job, so.
I like the flames on there, in the picture.
Yeah, in reality, they might see one fire in their career, but that'd be about it. So.
Look good. Okay, John?
Well, many of you were at the EIS scoping meeting for the Northern State project. Went very well. We've had just a couple of comments that have been just very common sense type comments from, and nothing that we haven't already begun addressing. So that's good, no big surprises. And there seemed to be a lot of support for the project all around. Even the people that were concerned about the impacts usually at some point during their comments say, I'm very supportive of this project. This is this one issue or two issues that I'd like you to work on. So that's actually very helpful for the EIS project process, because we can show that that there is support and directly address certain impacts that are perceived or real, and we can look into them different than other projects where people just say, oh, this is terrible, with no constructive criticism. So we've got lots of constructive criticism, and that's helping move the process along nicely. The comment period is technically over on Thursday evening for the EIS scoping. I think at the hearing, the Mal Foster and Alongi had said that they're keeping it open till Friday, so we'll just kind of keep it open till Friday, just for a safe measure. We don't want to stop anybody from commenting just because of a day here or there. And then the consultant will be putting together the actual draft EIS over the next month or so, and I'll let you know when there's more information on that. As far as the rest of, or as far as the comp plan update, we're working on the land use. The Planning Commission is going to be looking at the land use element, which is going to be informed by the buildable lands analysis that the City Council has approved H.D. Hovey consultant to put together for the city. We're expecting a first draft of that buildable lands analysis tomorrow, and rushing that to the Planning Commission so they can have some discussion of it at the May 19th Planning Commission hearing. And I don't anticipate that we're going to be able to make a lot of policy decisions or determine whether or not we need to expand our urban growth area or modify it over the next couple of weeks. But we're rapidly coming to that point, and that'll help us meet the county's request for an application in July if we need to modify our urban growth area. So we're working as fast as we can to make that county's sort of, I don't know where they came up with that deadline, but that's the deadline that they gave us. And the Planning Commission will also be reviewing potential two other items, one related to Northern State, just some housekeeping items about how planned actions work, tidy it up in our code. So we'll be having a public hearing on that, as well as a public hearing on potential changes to our recreational marijuana producer and processors code, chapter 17.92, to address odors. And so that should be coming to the council. I anticipate the Planning Commission will probably just have one hearing on that, and we'll be getting it to the council in the next month or so. That's what I got.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things I'd like to bring to council's attention. First, on your consent calendar tonight was the memorandum requesting authorization of Resolution 91515 for the Cascade Trail Project. This authorizes the design phase, and we have a deadline and we're trying to make on that. And the reason I put this all together on this package. I've mentioned to you in the past that moving the trail to the north side did bring one consequence that I have to deal with cost-wise, and that's the storm drain that needs to be replaced in that section. I've been working on revising the engineer's estimate to incorporate that. I've got far enough to know that it's about a $200,000 add to the project. I haven't fully identified where we're going to come up with that funding yet. We have $146,000 in our stormwater reserve funds, and we had talked earlier about using that, all or part of that. And my estimate is still pretty preliminary. I'm going to have David Lee actually start working on a formal engineer's estimate and preliminary design shortly. But I'll have to come back to you at some point to address that particular part of the project, and I just wanted you to be aware of that. I do have to furnish an estimate with the package that goes to DOT, and since this is strictly design phase only, I don't think it's an issue not having that funding secured. But if it does come up, I'll need to bring it back sooner rather than later. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. The second thing is, in your council packet was a kind of a final cost analysis for the SR20 Cook project. I wanted to provide a level of detail in that particular analysis that just emphasizes the power of leveraging these grant funds. I had talked about this a little with the construction phase final acceptance memo a few weeks ago, but putting together the federal funds that we had for the project, the $625,000 funds through SCOG for the design phase, and then leveraging that for our TIB applications to the construction phase really paid off for us in this. Our overall match requirement that we came up with from local funds was under $400,000 for what amounted to about a $7.6 million project. That's a pretty darn good return on our investment. You know, it's about 5.5%. So we want to continue with that particular success program. And in fact, I've been setting up the Jameson project with the same basic scenario as you see there. We have design phase funds through federal funds through SCOG again, and this August, once we have the design and permitting pretty much in place, we should be in a fairly strong position for another TIB application. There are other factors besides funding, of course. It has to be a good project. We feel that it is. It just depends on what other kind of competition from our area comes out as to whether we'll score in the money or not. But I think we've done about everything we can do to get it in a good position to be funded for next year. So anyway, if you have any questions about that memorandum, I'd be glad to answer them. Oh, the other thing that I did want to just point out is we had been mentioning our concern about the status of our reserve funds, our Growth Management Act impact fee funds. We did expend all of the funds that we had through the end of last year for that. We have a few new dollars coming in, about $2,200 so far this year from the homes that are being built. A lot of them are taking deferrals, so they're not actually paying in until the home actually sells. So we should see some more because there's quite a bit of activity that way. There's been over 20 starts so far this year, which has been good for our sewer utility also, or will be. But we also had other funding in Count 104 in what's called unrestricted funds. That's where we made up the rest of the match requirement, that 300 and some thousand that we furnished from our local funds. We still had, after finishing the project, about 92,000 left. That is enough to provide the match for both the Jameson project for the design phase, which you approved tonight, and also for the match requirement for the Cascade Trail project for the sidewalk project. So I don't have to come scrounging for money for those particular projects. They're fully funded with the dollars that we had left from that, and that's very good news for us. I really didn't know that until I finished this analysis. I suspected it was the case, but I'm glad to report that we're in good shape for that. Don't mean I won't come back looking for some more, but that is where we're at right now on that. Beyond that, I do expect to get the 75% design plans and specifications from Lochner on the Jameson project either tonight or tomorrow. They're burning the midnight oil to finish that up. I should get the right-of-way plans in the next couple of weeks. As soon as I have that, I've been in contact with White Pass, and we'll sit down and get the donation documents in place for that project, hopefully over the next 2 months, and be ready to go when the TIB applications go in August.
Mark?
Yes.
May I? You know, I've been hesitant on the Jameson project, and I wanted to maybe raise a new concern or something that could be considered in the design review. It just occurred to me that recently that all the high school parking along Jameson, every one of those cars is one or more traffic interactions with a pedestrian, because those kids have to weave in and out of traffic every time they pass a car. And I know there's a partial sidewalk, then it ends in a fence and trees. Is there a way to work with the school or in this project to get the fence moved to create a path for walking for those kids? So, because it's not safe now, and it's not going to be safe in the future. Because that happens twice a day. Every one of those kids going to those cars is a potential, collision.
That's an excellent observation, and we actually have brought that up to the school district already and plan to partner with them on a subsequent sidewalk project to remove that row of arborvitae trees.
Well, I don't know if you have to remove the trees, but you could, if the fence is moved, then you could put a path on the other side of the trees. You have a buffer between the cars and with those trees. But I think, just really the fence and putting a sidewalk is easier.
Yeah, and if the district's interested in us in putting that path on their property, then certainly we could do that. If we want to keep it in the right-of-way, it'll fit if the trees are removed. So I think it works, either way. And we have already broached that subject with them, and they're very interested in partnering with us on that. So I see that as a follow-up TIB sidewalk application to fund that project. So anyway, yes, very, very good point, and we are looking at that. Beyond that, we met with the school district today and reviewed our grading plans for the Babe Ruth facility, and we got their buy-off on our grading scheme for that. It allows us to utilize that existing pile of dirt that came from Evergreen, or from Cascade. It's out behind the softball fields now. Pretty much uses the whole 2,500 yards up, and it raises that whole area up about a foot, and has a minimum 1% slope for the entire field, so should be an excellent ball field. I think we're all looking really forward to getting started on that, and we have scheduled to start that work on June 1st. Janicki Logging has graciously agreed to furnish us a piece of equipment to push the dirt around. It is a couple of thousand yards of dirt to move and to grade, and so that'll greatly help us with that. And we'll be working with the school district on getting all of the various details done on that in terms of drainage and utilities and all the rest of that. So coming right along. Final thing is I'm starting on the TIP, the 6-year transportation plan. I'll be bringing that back to you in about a month for you to review, and we're working that in concert with the sub-area plan that's going on for northern states. We did new traffic counts for all of the city main city streets, which has been eye-opening. I was curious about what kind of changes resulted from our SR20 Cook project, and we have seen significant shifts in the volumes, which you probably observed with that easy right turn to Cook Road that we have now. It's changed the flow significantly. We have about 3,000 more daily traffic using Cook Road than we did prior to the project. Volumes are up on SR20 as well, though. It's interesting how that all works, You build it, they come. But the volumes in general have increased slightly. It puts us about to the same level we were at in 2007, 2008, interestingly. Our volumes went down or stayed pretty much static for about that number of years there, quite a few years, 7, 8 years, but now they're starting to grow again. And,
gas is down.
And the project is really helping to accommodate that so far. So that's all I had for tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I just also wanted the fence at Bingham, it's the icing on the cake. Looks good.
Yeah, that should be finished up in the next day or so, and I commend our contractor for that, because they made the suggestion that we put the top rail on that. We were going to put a standard DOT fence like we do everywhere else without a top rail, but I think it was really an excellent add-on to that. And because they gave us a very favorable bid, we were able to do that with the budget that we already had for the project. It all came in without any additional funding requirements. So, yeah.
Yeah, they did a nice job.
Yeah.
Well, I'm finished bargaining for the 911 center, excuse me, so happy to have that done. It will have generated about $13,000 in revenue for the city. I only did it because Mark was worried about Fund 104, but now that I know he's in the clear, I could have just stayed at work and gotten the job done here.
Well, you wore your voice out, didn't you?
Yeah, he was hoping today. I was talking to the Emergency Management Council. He was trying to get me to lose my voice so I couldn't talk tonight. It almost worked.
I just want to say something while you run. I'm always impressed with you, Aaron, but I think the rest of the people on the board you wowed them today with your knowledge of your negotiating and how you explained it to them. And I don't think there's anybody in the county who can do it as good as you can.
Well, thanks.
You did a good job.
Appreciate that. We brought Robert Osborne back on board last week as a part-time building inspector. I forgot to talk to you first. I apologize. We had him on contract, so it's not an economic issue, but normally before we make somebody a part-time employee, we talk to the council first. So the reason we chose part-time employment rather than contractor is that it costs us less money. So if you have any concerns, let me know now. Otherwise, we're going to continue down that path. You'll see an adjustment in the future budget amendment that essentially moves some of the money from where we would have spent it as an independent contractor into the salary line item. Our repeater project's going well. We'll be done with the site work tomorrow. In your packet, I think pages 81 through 90 or 83 are the two change orders, or the one change order that I've signed to date. One was the addition of a second antenna and coax to allow us to repeat our public works frequency, and the second is the addition of a taller lightning rod. The lightning rod surprised me because we hadn't missed it in our bid specs, but it became apparent once they were really looking at the tower that our new antennas were going to be taller than the existing lightning rod, which is problematic in the event of an electrical storm. So it was pretty exciting last week. The 30,000-pound shelter was moved with a 180-ton crane. Took them most of the day because they had a lot of shuffling to kind of fit it into the site. So the shelter's in, generator's in. Electrician, I think, was done today, waiting for L&I inspection, and they'll get the meter in. Tower work, I think, was done today. So they're basically just cleaning up the site. I'll be getting diesel delivered tomorrow for the generator. And then the delay for implementation is really Mike Voss, the technical services director at the dispatch center, has got a holiday coming up. But when he gets back, the ball's in his court to get the fiber connection done between here and dispatch, put in the actual computers and radios, and then he actually has to reprogram every radio in Skagit County, every police radio in Skagit County to reflect our new Sedro-Woolley frequency. So once that's all done, which I'm still hoping will be the end of June, we'll be able to go live with our new Sedro-Woolley frequency. So exciting for the officers, exciting for us. Hope that it really works as much as we think it does, so we can get that $60,000 from the school district to help pay for the project. And the last item I've got for you tonight is really a question, and I don't need an answer tonight, but I'd like you to think about it. We ran a voter forum last year that was, I think, very successful. We had a packed house, got a lot of positives. We had a person call me this week wanting to know how we did it, because she thought it went so well of all the ones that she'd visited as part of a campaign staff last year. We currently have 7 offices that are on the ballot that touch Sedro-Woolley. That is the city council, the mayor, the school district, the port, and the hospital district. Of those 7, only 3 are currently contested, and they're all 3 ours as mayor and 2 council. So, of course, filing week doesn't end until Friday at 4:30 or whatever. But the question for you is, do you want the city to host a voter forum again, and using the same format as last time, recognizing that there's a difference at least. All of the candidates are, they're all going for our seats, so it's a little more personal than it was last time.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, it was very informative. There's a lot of appreciation from the people in the audience, and since it would be able to, be recorded, other people had the chance to watch it outside of the strict rules that the League of Women Voters had. So I think it's worthwhile and something we should do.
I do too. I like the format a lot too.
And how did we advertise it? Because it would be better if there were more people in the room. It was moderately attended, I thought.
I thought it was great.
You couldn't have got even more.
I was going to say, I don't remember an empty seat in the house.
Yeah,
I thought it was standing room only.
The League of Women Voter one had like 2 people there.
It was full.
Yeah, it was full, and I remember Aaron's son.
Maybe it filled in after I sat down then. I don't know. I was here.
I was sitting over
Where were you?
Right
so
there.
The answer is we advertised that primarily through our utility bills. I did an insert to invite people to it, and I believe that's what worked. Because the newspaper, it just is not as effective a medium as it used to be.
You put it on Facebook too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely put it on the city's Facebook page. But I think it was that mailer to every household saying, "Hey, come meet your candidates here," that made the difference.
And then we didn't let the candidates answer with the fluff.
Yeah, everybody's for blue sky.
No
and
blue
lots of
sky,
ducks,
no
and no taxes.
pollution. Yeah, no taxes. It's a good one.
But not all out there. Now let's get to the meat of the matter. So anyway, I don't know. It's up to you. We don't have to decide tonight. But if we're going to do it, I'd like to pick a date.
We should do it
fairly soon so we can get it out to all the candidates and get that on their calendars.
Because
I definitely want that.
yeah,
That's it.
Betsy.
Yeah, I'll tell you an experience of mine. Same person.
I kind of know it.
Which one was what?
I received a phone call from Kyle Denenbaugh from WHU Mail and Associates from Summit, New Jersey. And Kyle has some clients there in New Jersey that hold the outstanding bonds on our public safety portion of this building. And as they're going to be paid off soon, that he was inquiring to see if we had any new offerings. They feel that Sedro-Woolley, pays it well, and so they were, looking for a new investment. So I kept his information.
That's pretty smart, actually.
We in the future had some, but.
In case we want to go in debt.
Maybe the swimming pool. The swimming pool.
But we still get to think that somebody in New Jersey owns our bonds and they're.
Well, yesterday Chicago's bonds got demoted to junk. So maybe they're looking at something that's better.
And there's going to be a lot more cities like that.
Okay, we'll start off with Brett.
Yeah, I just have one question or concern, maybe directed at Lynn or the City Council also, is I'm pretty unsatisfied with the response that the school gives for the kids loitering in the streets and doing their drugs or whatever else they do all times of the day, in the morning before school, after school, during school. I call probably once every couple of weeks, and they, even though I'm a block and a half from the school, it's too far for them to do anything. And I just, there's a lot of bad things that happen. I'm not happy with it. So what could I do? What should we do as a
Did we call?
I call the main office and I say, "Can I speak to an adult, please?" And so, just in front of your house on Monday, there was 3 kids passing a pipe right on the sidewalk, and I just.
Well, I grow it out in the right of way. It's a good cottage industry now that it's been legalized.
What?
Sorry, Lynn can answer that question.
But they pass a security bond. It just doesn't seem safe to not know when kids are coming or when kids are out of school, and I'm not happy with that.
Well,
homeschooling.
We've had that same concern. Because there's kids that walk between State Street and the high school. Some of them go to school at different hours. Some of them different days of the week. School has different hours, and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you're down at the high school by 7:30, and most of the kids are supposed to be in between 7:30 and 8. By 8 o'clock, they should be in the school, and there shouldn't really be anybody loitering around. Well, and that's when if we're on one side of the school, they cluster on the other. So it's kind of a give and take on where we are. We just kind of, it's like herding chickens. You kind of push them away, and they go another place and find a place to hide.
And I'm not saying it differently, but I know there was a girl and two boys. I saw them in his house before school, and I saw them on the corner after school. So they're high school students at the high school, and so I can't imagine. I mean, they're not all State Street kids going in between schools.
No, they're not. But that school is like a sieve. There is nothing keeping them in.
Do you want Brett to do? Do you want him to call 911?
Absolutely.
So just call dispatch, tell them what the issue is, and they'll dispatch the officer on duty to come out and do a patrol check.
But what's the duty of the school? Because it seems like, I mean, is there an issue that we could push with the school district?
I think that's a question that we ought to bring up at one of our city district meetings, and it would be nice maybe if that was a meeting when you could come. I know Keith has brought it up before, but maybe we get both of you there to raise the issue. I know I've seen them smoking bowls in the alley behind my house, and I call the chief, and by the time he gets there, they've already demobilized and headed to class. They're just walking kind of slow.
Don't you guys have like a vice principal or something living next door?
Yeah, but for Evergreen, it doesn't count.
Well, you got to do something to take the edge off before you go to class. So,
that's what I would suggest is when you see it, call dispatch 911. And then let's put it as a topic at our next city school district meeting and see if there's any way we can get you there, talk about the issue. Obviously, the school year is almost over. That's probably the answer you're going to get. But, we could be talking about what's going to happen in the fall.
Yep. I was going to say, this might be a good time to talk about Oasis Teen Shelter has their Daylight Center open again now. They just got a lot of funding. I mean, especially for when school gets out, the kids are going to have somewhere to go.
Where's that? In Mount Vernon?
It's in Mount Vernon.
That's at the Gracie
Can't give them a free bus pass. Please leave Sedro-Woolley.
No, but they do, keep them busy. They do lots of programs. They got lots of funding, so they can, and they're encouraging kids. I mean, wherever we see them hanging out, to encourage them that they have somewhere to go, so they're not out on the streets.
No.
It'd be nice if we had one here in Sedro, but
parents.
If you actually had something along the lines of the Boys and Girls Club for the older teens, and something, the place that was downtown was really nice, but it was in the wrong spot. I think everybody kind of agreed that was in a bad spot. But if you had something for that, you will attract them, especially if you feed them and then start interacting with them. And that would attract those kids. And we saw a path between the place downtown next to Oliver and Hammer and Memorial Park. They would go either there or Memorial Park. So they're going to go somewhere. You're going to find them. They're going to go somewhere. That doesn't answer your question completely, Brett, but it is kind of a thing that they're milling aimlessly, and like I said, it is kind of like herding chickens. They just wander around as soon as they spot me. They duck down an alley.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I tried to do that teens center with them a while ago, but it just
right.
But I mean, the kids that are actually going to school shouldn't be free to come and go, I think, as they please, or so.
Can't have a closed campus.
Have a closed campus.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick. Hugh.
Are you guys in direct contact with the State Patrol on the weight guys coming through? I mean, it seems like I know I complained.
There's more now.
Before, and there are more state guys pulling over trucks than I've seen in the last 10 years.
It really depends on who's in the area, and if they're getting geared up, for more traffic, they'll get more bodies in there. The local state patrol detachment's really short. They're shorter than anywhere else, right up in this area. Nobody wants to work up here for some reason. They all want to work down south, or they get paid more. But they're actually getting people through the academy and getting them cycled through. And it's probably just a change in a cycle of people and more aggressive folks up there. It's hit or miss on the weights and measures guys are people we don't see very often.
Okay.
They're just out doing their thing.
Well, the other part of my statement would be I would like to see some of those trucks. They're really going fast. And they go by my road there, they go by Dean's place there, and they're doing 50 and a 30. And I'd like to see some of them get pinched to slow them down.
What's the best time of day are you seeing them? Because I've got a traffic guy that's working a swing shift right now, and he's when he's not handling calls, he's on traffic.
Afternoon,
and he's coming on at 2. I can get Dan Eddy, he's on right now. I can get him to start hitting the hill up there. And
all it takes is getting a couple, and then they're in contact between each. They'll slow down.
Absolutely.
That's what happens.
I got Dan in here tonight. I'll talk to him before I leave tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
That's all.
Keith?
First of all, our soccer team is starting to set a tradition here. They won 2-0 last night against Seaholm, and they're continuing on in the playoffs, 3rd year in a row. So go out and support the soccer guys. Secondly, I was coming in through the front doors just as 2 gentlemen were leaving planning today, and they were commenting on what a great experience it was working with Joanne and their permit process and how smooth everything went, and they were really, just talking it up. So I like to hear talk like that. Then I went in and talked to Joanne about it, and she mentioned that our permits are way up. And I think, Patsy, you made a little bit of a mention today. Do we know where we are on permits, building permits, this year as opposed to other years?
It's hard to say exactly. Well, first of all, thank you for Joanne. Yeah, I appreciate her greatly. She does a great job. We're definitely up. We're almost at 100 permits this year. Now, that's not all brand new single-family homes, but we are significantly up in single-family homes. I've been giving reports. I didn't bring numbers today, but I think we've got 6 new single-family home permits received in the past 2 weeks. Probably another 5 or 10 throughout the year, but I think right now, some of those were taken out in 2014, and they're just starting to get built now. So I think we've got something like 16 single-family homes under construction right now, as well as a 12-unit apartment complex and the physical therapy building. So hence the need for a part-time building inspector, and I definitely appreciate having Robert on doing the building inspections, because it was taking up over a quarter of my time, more like a half of our time in our office. So
anecdotally, it just feels like things are starting to take off here. So.
Oh, absolutely, and we're getting calls for more people that are looking at buying single-family lots in the town.
If I might just add to that also, I heard from the guy across the street, and he was happy with the service in front also. So, but you're doing a good thing over there.
Thank you.
Done? Brenda?
Nothing today.
Jermaine?
I just kind of was mentioning, anyone thinking about building a grocery store in town? Actually wanted to say, I went to a meeting last week, a debriefing for the Woodfest. It sounds like they're going to be moving the Woodfest back to the original location at the high school for lots of reasons. The only bad part about being at the high school, I guess, is that it's not as easy to find, they thought, for more people, but they have better signage this year, so it seems like next year it's probably going to be back at the high school, not at the middle school. That's it. Otherwise, went really well.
Kevin?
Last week, Chief Tucker and I both attended would you call it a seminar on mental health in this area? And it was quite interesting and involved quite a few items. I wouldn't really know what to say about it, but there are people around that are serious about improving mental health care around here. So it was quite an interesting afternoon.
Just one more thing. Dean and Patsy and I are working on applying for the city's Medicare number. We're in the process of negotiating a contract with the county that will provide some compensation for what we currently do in EMS. And we have been doing EMS transports, but we've never billed for them. So we're going to be getting a packet in the mail, it looks like tomorrow or Friday, that we actually will send off to Medicare to get a provider number, and that's kind of step one in our ability to bill. So just so you know, it's a big, thick packet with lots of stuff. We'll probably give you a summary of that rather than the whole copy unless you really want it. Or if you really want it, let me know and we'll get it to you. That's it.
Anything else? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
All those in favor stand. Thank you. Goodbye.
That was a fireman's birthday on Tuesday. My friend put that on. Michelle Meeker Penn. Who? Michelle Meeker Penn. Strawberry Blonde.
Oh, yeah, she said it for a while.
Yeah. She got tired of you.
No, she's busy running around.
Yeah, she's really high strung. But she puts up good. She is. She's quite a magnet, let me tell you. Pretty cute. She's really sweet. Yeah, I wish I had gone to that.
You know as a renter, you did not hear.
Oh, I asked that, actually.
Okay, well, I want somebody to give you an answer. You don't care.
Aaron told
How are you going to get it?
How do renters?
Aaron says majority of
That I should think is the owner. If you don't own the home, you're not. Are they something you could?
We should go to the address.
There are extra ones in that city hall stacked right there.
But for the renters,
No, it's a fair question. Some places there's a duplicate.
yeah, because Aaron says all of his renters. It's up to the landlord.
But you're not getting that.
That's a good question.
I think we do it differently.
Oh, yeah, did you see that on
Yeah, we can give you guys an option.
I was reading that, and I was agreeing, they were getting mad at them. They kicked
But Aaron, I asked Aaron, so he knows the answer.
Did you notice how they were stuck in that?
Principal still going on. Still going on. I love something you call me. They needed an English class for it.
Well, in this lady, it's funny, this lady just said, in a comment, she said, I'd like to know what happens their LAD or something. Yeah, it's for now, of course, it's actually the way that that's
That's all I'm
Yeah.
I knew you were a foster parent, I didn't know I remember looking at it. Yeah, you were fast. Okay, no, I just wanted to